Well, hello and welcome to episode 118 of Drink the Movies. I'm Brian here, as always, with Michaela. And Michaela, a little known comic book character by the name of Ant-Man came to our movie theaters, our TV screens, all the things in the year 2015. So go through and name off some of your favorite Marvel superheroes, if you will. You got your Spider-Mans, you got your Captain Americas, you got your Thors, you got
Yeah,
your
Iron
Incredible
Man.
Hulks.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and then people started to learn about Iron Man because that was a movie. No one ever really heard of Iron Man until that movie.
Oh,
But
that's good.
then, but then you keep going down, right? And then you get to Ant Man, Stan Lee creation. Uh, but everyone was on board. Ant Man, Paul Rudd.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Paul Rudd is an amazing actor, and he's part vampire. I'm convinced of it. I think he's like 357 years old, and he still looks 26. I don't know how he does it. If he's got a skin cream line, he needs to tell people. Yeah, Ant-Man, really good. Good kind of first, really interesting kind of new age way of looking at a superhero too, because this guy, if you don't know anything about Ant-Man, spoiler, we're going to talk about all the things before this movie. He is a criminal, right? Like, he gets out of jail. He's had a failed marriage. He has a daughter who he hasn't seen because he was in jail. And he's, working at like a Baskin Robbins. He is not like Tony Stark, who's a millionaire philanthropist, right?
Hmm.
He
Hmm.
is, kind of trying to stay on the straight and narrow, and yet he gets picked up, and he meets the Pyms, who were the original. Hank Pym was the original Ant-Man from years and years ago, and goes on this adventure of getting smaller, getting bigger, and it's all about getting using the strength of an ant,
Doing ant stuff. That's
doing
all.
ant
That's all
stuff.
he is. That's all he's about. Scott Lang is a criminal that can do ant stuff now, and yeah, that is our superhero that we're being introduced to. So, yeah, 2015, this thing comes out. There's the sequel, Ant-Man and the Wasp. We're introduced to the Wasp in 2018, and then just this year in 2023, we get Ant-Man and the Wasp and the Quantumania, and that is what we're talking about today, Michaela. But before we go into this, I need a drink for sure. So, why don't we take a quick break and we will whip something up? Might be a shot. I don't know. I keep telling Michaela not to do those, but we keep doing them anyway. So we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back to whip up this week's cocktail.
So Brian is right, and I am sorry. We are doing a shot. It's really cool looking. We're gonna call it the Quantum Realm because it looks really cool. I saw a picture of this, and I was like, "How are we gonna make it?" Because it is all the things that shows up on the preview in Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. If you've not seen the preview, it's really cool. There's a lot of purple. There's a lot of like space, cloud looking universe type stuff. And there's some blue in there. It looks really cool, really eerie, kind of weird and fantastical. And so that's why we picked this. It is a shot, and I was hoping that it would be good and that it would be a shot that you would drink and enjoy. We're going to talk about if that worked or not, but do you want to run through these ingredients, or shall I?
Yeah, so this shot, yeah, when you send it over my way, it does look delicious. Well, it doesn't look delicious, but it looks very interesting. It has like these striated lines through there. It looks very much like the quantum realm, which is what we are naming this one. And yeah, I mean it's pretty straightforward, simple to put together. These are probably things you have, especially if you're into shots, because these four ingredients tend to show up in, I don't know, like 98% of shots, which is why I don't like shots because none of them are very good. But yeah, Michaela, why don't you throw this one together for
Okay.
us, and then I'll give you my thoughts on it.
Yeah, I'll give you the the Brian critique. 3/4 of an ounce of peach schnapps. That's right. 1/4 of an ounce of Bailey's. We're doing great so far. We're going to do a few drops of grenadine and a few drops of blue curacao. So this is a shot that you build, okay? And you're going to do it in the order that I just told you. You're going to start with the peach schnapps. You're going to put the Bailey's in. Then you're going to add the grenadine. Then you're going to add the blue curacao. And then you're supposed to look at it in awe because it's supposed to look really cool. Now, we're not going to show you the picture that we went and found this on. Because of copyright. But when I saw this, I was like, this is going to look amazing. This is going to be great. When I made this, Brian, and we made these separately, Mine ended up looking like a gelatinous mess of brown. It did not look, there was no purple. Then I tried to add more red to make it, nothing happened. It just looked nasty. It did not look like the picture that we were hoping it to look like. But yours, which you actually took pictures of for the pod, it looks a lot better than what mine looked like. And Lucky, you're so smart. You made it like a shot by shot so we could see kind of the transition.
The progression. Yeah, that's right.
Right.
Yeah, that's right. You have to kind of put this thing together. And yeah, like you said, you do it kind of in that order and it kind of builds on itself. Now, the picture that we found had like these long like striations of things. I don't know if they used some like gelatin in their like peach schnapps base so they could get that picture and make it look really awesome, because mine didn't do that either. Mine was still pretty cool looking because it kind of made like these clouds of like this blue and the red, and it kind of turned purple and kind of swirled around the glass as I was building it up there. So yeah, you can do that. You can play with it. You probably, if you made this 10 times, it would look different, kind of the 10 times as you're doing it, pouring it over the back of a spoon or using like an eyedropper or however you're doing it. But yeah, the moral of the story is you put all that stuff into your shot glass, you drink it, and then you go see Ant-Man and the Wasp and the Quantumania, because that is what we did for sure. So thoughts on the taste of this? I've said it bunch of times, so I'm not going to dwell on it too fast. I don't really love shots, just from the standpoint. So I was always kind of destined to not like this that well, but nothing about these flavors really go together. This is just for appearance sake only.
Yeah, I have to agree. I don't know, the peach and the Baileys, like the grenadine and blue curacao, you're just putting a few drops in, so you don't really taste anything but sugar there. I love Baileys and I like peach schnapps. I did not like this together. I'm glad it was a shot because I was able to get it done and then drink something else like water to rinse out the taste of my mouth. This was not my favorite. It wasn't my favorite. It was kind of disappointing because it didn't look as cool as I thought I wanted it to look. And it was definitely not a flavor that I would do. I like shots, but I like them to taste the way they're pleasing. I don't like doing shots that are just nasty, because as much as I enjoy drinking, I don't think the point is to just drink a bunch of alcohol. So I'm kind of with you on this one. I was all excited because I thought that this would look super cool and really be reminiscent of the world in the quantum realm that the Ant-Man and basically his entire family gets sucked into, right? But disappointing. And I gotta say, it's sort of reminiscent of how I felt about the movie itself. But we'll get into that.
That's right. We're going to get into that, and we might need another one of these shots, whether it was good or not, to do that. Just a spoiler warning. So I don't know. Let us know at home if you have any good tips or tricks about building your shots and getting them to look super pretty, because we could definitely use some help there, at least on this one. And they can't all be good. 118 cocktails. We're gonna have some misses, and we're not too proud to admit when we don't have the best drink. That's okay. That happens sometimes. But what we're going to do, Michaela, is maybe I'll just go get something else to drink. Maybe I'll make a Sazerac from the lobby bar this week. Go check that one out. That is
do that.
So I'm going to go do that. So I'll make you one too. We'll take a quick break and then we'll be right back to chat about this week's film, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania.
Spoiler warning for Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. If you've not yet seen this film or any of the two Ant-Mans before it, which was Ant-Man and the Wasp, you should press pause now. You should go make yourself a shot. No, actually, don't do that. Go make yourself something you're actually going to enjoy, and then you can come back and we can chat about them.
Yeah, if you're not familiar with Ant-Man, buckle in, because we got a lot of the same people are back for this one. So this was just released very recently, 2023. It was directed by Peyton Reed. Peyton Reed has directed all three of the Ant-Man films now, and it stars all the people from before. Paul Rudd is Scott Lang, aka Ant-Man. Evangeline Lilly is Hope Van Dyne, aka the Wasp, and we're bringing in Jonathan Majors, who is playing Kang the Conqueror. So that's pretty exciting stuff, Michaela, because big Jonathan Majors fans here on Drink the Movies. So excited to see him whenever he pops up in things. And spoiler warning, probably the best part of the movie. We've got three Ant-Mans so far. Ant-Man came out in 2015. Ant-Man and the Wasp came out in 2018. And then Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, as I just mentioned, 2023. There have been 31 Marvel MCU movies now, Michaela. That's a lot. And
That's a lot.
you can't have 31 movies without retreading some ground here and there. And that's happened more often than not. But one of the key standouts for me in the MCU was the original Ant-Man 2015. You have Scott Lang. He is just he's like some thief. It's more interesting. It's more of like this heist caper kind of a thing. I really liked the first Ant-Man. So how did we get from there to here?
I'm not sure, to be honest. Yeah. So I do love the original Ant-Man. Ant-Man and the Wasp, I thought was a little less strong. I don't even remember much about who the antithesis was for Ant-Man and the Wasp, but Ant-Man, I do remember it was kind of this nostalgic view of the Ant-Man because, again, we meet Hank Pym. Hank Pym and his wife, they were the original Ant-Man and the Wasp from like 30 years ago. They've got these Pym particles that make them really small so that they can get into safes and they can get into machinery and they can go and save humanity being really small, and then they get bigger. But if you get too small, you end up in this place called the quantum realm, and it's real bad. In fact, in the original Ant-Man, Scott Lang's character actually gets into the quantum realm, and we think that he's done for. He says goodbye to his daughter. He tries to save her from being attacked by this giant looking bee thing. Like a yellow jacket thing that's going crazy in her room. It's like the size of a car. And he's like, bye, Cassie, I love you. And he goes down into the quantum realm, but something happens and he's able to get himself back, and it's great. But the quantum realm looks like a super scary place where you lose like all sense of time and space, and because you're just getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And we think that in the first film that Hank Pym's wife, Janet Van Dyke, has been lost forever in the quantum realm. She's been there for like 30 years, left her daughter Hope, left her husband Hank. They have a very tumultuous relationship because Hank never told his daughter about what happened to mom. So she thought that she died. And she didn't die, we thought, because there's no coming back from the quantum realm. However, in Ant-Man and the Wasp, the second one, we see that she's back and triggers off a whole set of events in the second film. And so we're kind of smack dab right in at the end of this idea where now the family's together moving forward as a family unit. If you've watched all 31 or 30 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies, you know that there was a period of time called the blip where for 5 years a bunch of people didn't exist, and then they did. And so Scott Lang kind of re-entered the world, and his daughter, who was like 6, is now 20 or something. I don't know how they made that math work, but that's where we are. So we have Scott Lang, we've got his girlfriend, who's Hope Van Dyke. We've got Hank Pym and his wife, Janet. And then, of course, Cassie. Cassie is in her early 20s, I think. And she's real sciencey. She's real smart. She's basically looks at the Pym Van Dynes as her grandparents. And she comes up with this really great idea that she's going to build this, I don't know, honing device that's going to talk to the quantum realm. What would be, number one, why would you need to do that? Number two, why would you want to do that? I have no idea.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we've got Cassie Lang, who is now played by Catherine Newton. So it's a different Cassie Lang even than we had in the first two Ant-Man films. And yeah, Cassie is prone to getting in trouble. She's having some standoffs with the law. She's learning about she has her own kind of Ant-Man suit. I don't know who her character is supposed to be going forward, but she's got her own suit, so she's getting into some trouble. And then, yeah, also is apparently a genius now and has built this portal to a quantum realm. I don't know how she got these genius abilities because she is not a Van Dyne, so she's not one of these genius people. She is the daughter of Scott Lang and his wife Maggie. So she's a genius, though. She builds this thing in the basement. Janet Van Dyne, who's played by Michelle Pfeiffer, says, why are you doing that? That's a bad idea. Don't talk to those people. You think maybe you would know what's happening in your own basement at your house, but nonetheless, that's what we've got going on right there. The portal gets opened and everyone is being sucked in to the quantum realm, Quantumania style. So Scott, Hope, Janet, Dr. Hank, Cassie, and a boatload of ants get sucked into the quantum realm. Michaela.
That's right. And it looks terrifying. It looks nothing like what it looked like the first time Scott Lang got in the quantum realm. It's even more scary, except there's a lot more sound. There's all these wormholes. There's a lot of that weird, like cosmic looking space smoke everywhere, which was reminiscent of what we tried to do in the shots. But they land in kind of this universe. So apparently there's this universe inside the quantum realm. And when Scott lands, he is separated. He's separated from his daughter. Janet and Hope and Hank are also separated. And Janet, she's real mad that this has happened because she did not think that this is something that should be done. She spent like 30 years in the quantum realm, and she's obviously really worried and scared, but of course doesn't tell anybody why. Not now, even though they're there and they're in this crazy place and they're these weird looking like snail horses.
Yes, yeah, there are snail horses. And yeah, we get to the quantum realm, and it's this very kind of surreal place, right? So you only get about 10 minutes kind of at the start of this film where we're in like the actual real world where Scott Lang's walking around being mistaken, for all the other Marvel superheroes, which is kind of a recurring theme for Scott Lang, never getting the credit that he is so duly deserved for, coming back and figuring out how to save the whole world. So good on you there, Scott Lang. But yeah, they get to the quantum realm and then it's just a CGI fest for the rest of this thing. But I have to say the visuals of the way the quantum realm I thought looked pretty good. I thought some of the creature stuff was a little hit or miss. Like some of the ones that you could tell, there's like a guy who looks like he has like this tube like flashlight for a head. Like he always looked really good, but some of the other ones didn't look as good. So they're just kind of picking and choosing, and maybe that is just I don't want that's the way the quantum realm works. Some people are more high def than other people. I don't know for sure, but yeah, it's basically then a story of reuniting these people. And, Janet, played by Michelle Pfeiffer, has been down in the quantum realm. She was down there for like 30 years or something. So she's basically like the queen of the quantum realm. Everyone knows Janet. Janet is the bee's knees, according to everyone. And especially to Lloyd Krylar, who is highlighted in the movie for me, played by Bill Murray, because Bill Murray is amazing.
That's right. And it's really interesting because we meet him. He looks great. He's basically being himself. All the things that are amazing that Bill Murray is, he is in this, and he's like, "Oh, you look great. Oh, this is your husband. That's interesting." And it starts to get kind of weird because then Michelle Pfeiffer's character Janet's like, "Hey, I was down here for a long time. Okay, like." I had needs. And I guess one of her needs was to survive. And so in order to do that, she had to fight against this person who named Kang, who showed up as well. He was kind of a stranger to this land. He was not a quantum realm citizen. And so they both ended up trying to figure out a way to survive. But Kang decided to become a conqueror. He's got these weird special powers. He let Janet know early on that he had been banished from his other world for some reason. He'd been excommunicated, and so he was going to try and build up a following in this world. And he was really cruel, and so she had spent a lot of her 30 years kind of building out this rebel alliance, if you will, with people who were going to fight against Kang. And this character played by Bill Murray was one of them. However, when she left, because she didn't really get a choice of when and how she left, she kind of left all of these people to fend for themselves. And so they're not happy with her because she left, and they all decided to kind of join Kang because they didn't want to die or see their children die. And so now Kang is kind of running everything, and Kang is real mad at Janet for leaving him alone. And he would really like to open up the quantum realm door again so that he can come out into Earth and mess everything up for us, because why not? At least that's what we think.
Because that is what conquerors do, and Kang is going to do what he does. Yeah, so they're kind of separated. They meet Lord Krylar. He's got a ship that they get onto and are off on pursuit of finding Scott and Cassie, who have been reunited. They were only separate there for just a bit, but unfortunately for Scott and Cassie, they're going to run into Kang first and be taken prisoner. They're going off to to the conqueror's lair. I don't know what his house was called, but he's there. And what Kang the Conqueror wants is he wants Scott to go and steal some energy source so he can power up his ship and get out of there. Now my question is you're Kang the Conqueror. You can enslave entire worlds of people. You can take over. You took over the quantum realm like 1 second after Janet left. But you need Scott Lang to steal this thing for you. You can't just go take it. You're Kang the Conqueror. Get on with it, man. But that is what Scott is going to do. He is going to be tasked with going to get this thing to save the life of Cassie, who Kang says he will spare if you go steal me this thing.
Right. He also decides to create a kind of a killing machine. And we got to talk about this because it's so funny.
That's right.
So the rebels are under attack by this person. I don't know what to call him. MODOK.
It's a mechanized organism designed only for killing.
Yeah, there you go. And he was revealed to be Darren Cross, a very weird looking kind of like Lord Farquaad version of Darren Cross from the very first Ant-Man. If you don't know who that is, that's the bee yellow jacket looking thing that was trying to kill Cassie when she was 6 in her bedroom. And Scott banished him to the quantum realm, and he was not able to come back. So he was presumed dead. Not the case. Apparently he was just turned into like a weird Easter egg looking thing, and his face is all weird and he just looks different. He's got the same voice, but he just looks real strange. Little arms, little legs. He's like a ball with feet. Anyway, and apparently he can kill anything. I mean, he's kind of like a Dalek, but even more ridiculous looking. It's hard to imagine. I know,
but just that guy's face. Just that guy's face, though.
Yeah. So, one thing I do think is kind of neat is that, Darren or MODOK, he starts off being on the side of Kang, and then he ends up kind of changing his tune towards the end. And he's like, hey, I don't have to be a bad person. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of memes around don't be a D word. And you don't have to, that's one of the good things that came out of this is it was a really good way to tell people, hey, you could have made really bad mistakes in your life. You don't have to continue to be bad just because you started off that way. You can always change your mind. I thought that was a really good lesson for the kids at home that are going to watch this over and over again. Very strange way to do it, but yeah. So there's this big battle at the end. I mean, this is going to be the shortest. This is going to be the shortest podcast we've ever done.
Give this some due. So yeah, MODOK is great. He's pretty funny. I thought he looked pretty good, kind of that, even though it's just a big weird egg-shaped version of Darren there. But MODOK was pretty good, and he has kind of a little bit of a character journey. You get some nice stuff with Scott and Cassie, some good daddy-daughter relationship building kind of things as they're talking through, right? And you still have some trauma, when you get blipped out and you're just gone for 5 years and your kid grows up, that's sad, and you're trying to do some reconnecting there. So a little bit of that happens, but mostly what happens is Scott is just tasked with stealing this thing, and he goes and he ends up going to some other kind of part of the quantum realm where all possibilities are able to exist. So there turns out to be like 1 million of these little Scott Langs. You don't know which one is the real one. I thought that this was a big missed opportunity. I kind of like the idea that you go into this, I don't know, pit or whatever he fell into that had like just unlimited possibilities, but they were all exactly the same, except one of them had the Baskin Robbins shirt on, but everyone else looked exactly the same. They couldn't have changed up the costume or changed up the size or the look or anything. It was just like 1 million of the same one.
They spent all the CGI on making MODOK. They needed to make the egg with feet and arms. They had to place. They couldn't do everything, man. They couldn't do everything.
They didn't have the color palette available. But yeah, I would have liked. I would have liked a little bit more from that section. Like I said, I thought it was neat, but I thought it would have been more neat had there been different variants of Scott, which I thought kind of was the purpose of that happening. But long story short, gets the thing. Kang thinks that it's his now, but not before a portal gets open back up, because luckily we've got Janet back on our side, and she's the one that really understands how all of this quantum stuff works. She's the one that spent all the time down there. They're able to get that that communicator thing turn back on that Cassie had built, and they're going to be able to get out of there, but not before there's the final battle. And this is my favorite part of the whole movie right here, Michaela, because it pulled on my nostalgia heartstrings, because it made me think of, we're going to talk about this here one day on Drink the Movies, but that greatest movie of all time, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, with the big ant, full of love. These are warrior ants. They're ready to go and do your bidding. They're ready to
Right.
go do Dr. Hank Pym's bidding, and you get a big ant army, and that's the best part. That's the best part of the whole movie right there.
It's the
The
best
ant
part of the
army.
whole movie. I totally agree. I mean, I think that what's really cool about it is we forget that they exist. We forget that they were kind of leapt in. They were sucked into the portal at the beginning of the film. We don't see them until the end. And it turns out that when you get sucked into the quantum realm, I mean, we're really lucky that all five of these characters ended up in the right place in the right time, because they could have ended up in any place and any time, apparently.
Convenient.
And
Convenient.
very convenient, a little too convenient. Marvel writers, I'm looking at you. Okay. But the ants, however, the ants landed somewhere on that planet or in this space 10,000 years previous. And so they had 10,000 years to continue to develop their intelligence and learn the technology and learn the weaponry and all of the things that you would need to know in order to, create the anthill that they create and come to the rescue of Hope and Hank and Janet and all the people and all the different citizens that all look really strange and weird as citizens of this world, making this one last stand. And it is really cool. Kang has these very strange robotics. They kind of look like Cybermen if Cybermen had fish bowls on their head. And I am not exaggerating. That's exactly how it looks. And so, they have this battle, and MODOK ends up being killed, and it's a very sad thing. But he at the end he thinks that he's done well enough to become an Avenger and like die with some dignity and some grace, and that's cool. So at the very end, it's down to Kang and it's down to Scott Lang, and they're duking it out. This portal is opened. Cassie gets to jump through, Hope gets to jump through, Hank and Janet finally get through, but Scott, you don't think he's going to make it. And I got to say, from a daddy-daughter perspective, you start getting a little worried that this is the end of Scott Lang, because his number one care has always been his daughter. And you realize, he has some of these regrets that he talks about throughout the film, about how, he knows he missed a lot of birthdays growing up because he was in jail. Then he was blipped, so he missed a lot of birthdays because she was growing up and everybody thought he was dead, or he was blipped. And so he's like, man, I'm gonna get to miss out on seeing all of the amazing ways she's gonna continue to grow up and things. And so you're worried for a minute, but it's a Marvel film. Scott Lang's not going anywhere. Manages to kick Kang to the curb somehow.
Hope, aka the Wasp, flies back through the portal to grab Scott and get back out of there just in time. But bad news potentially on the horizon, because Kang tells Scott Lang that if you strand me here, that's going to be even worse than if you would have just let me leave. And that's going to play on Scott's psyche as we get into the final part of the movie here, as we're back in the real world now, and Scott's going about his day just the same way as he was kind of at the beginning of that. It's come full circle, and Scott has a brief moment where he says, "Should I be worried about that?" And he's like, "Nah," because Scott is a carefree, fun-loving Ant-Man, to be sure. And that's it. We didn't really do the film any justice, but we did as good as it warranted, I think. But that being said, Michaela, there are things that I liked about the movie. Jonathan Majors, as I mentioned at the top, was amazing. I thought that the writing for Kang was really inconsistent, because sometimes he seemed very powerful and menacing. Sometimes he seemed kind of almost like a screwball character, kind of. It felt really inconsistent, but Jonathan Majors is great, so I like seeing him. Paul Rudd, is acting like Paul Rudd, who's been doing that same role now since Clueless, so doing that same stuff there. I thought Michelle Pfeiffer was excellent. I really liked her in this film as Janet Van Dyne. Hope, she could have not been in the movie. I don't remember the Wasp having like anything to do until like that very end when she came in and grabbed Scott. Ant-Man and the Wasp could have just been Ant-Man. I didn't get a lot of Wasp out of this one.
Yeah, and I think they made this really big deal about the end. She comes to save Scott, and then he's like, "Oh, I love you," and it's like this moment where, I have to say the chemistry between the two of them non-existent for me. I didn't think it was that great in the second film either. In the first film, it was okay. But they made some choices there, and I don't really understand it. I think Michelle Pfeiffer did an excellent job given the script that she had. I mean, she does a really good job of telling people that she's not going to tell them what's going on yet. I don't understand why, because I think it might sound sexist, but as a woman, I would be like, here's all the information I have. We have to go do this. And here's why. And you have to listen to me. Instead, it's totally the opposite. Like, listen to me, but I don't have to tell you why. You're just going to have to trust me. It makes zero sense to me. And probably, why the plot moved the way that it did, because they couldn't have done it any other way. But choices were made. People were blamed, and
right. People were blamed. That's right. Dogs and cats living together. Yeah, exactly. They kind of played it off as Janet didn't want to talk about the quantum realm, which is fine. But it seems like if you're a scientist, that once you get there, that maybe you say, well, time to buck up and say what's going on down here. Converse to that, I thought Michelle Pfeiffer was excellent. I thought Michael Douglas was like, how many of these films do I have to be in? Get me out of here. What does my contract say? Do I have to keep doing this? How big is my check? Okay, I will do it. But yeah, I don't know. Catherine Newton was good, was really good as Cassie, I thought. Like I said, she was a new Cassie, but I thought that she did good. So and visually, I thought that it looked fine. I kind of liked the uprising. I liked seeing, kind of the variety and assortment of different creatures that lived in the quantum realm. And then Ant Army. Ant Army is the best, for sure.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I mean, and I think from a special effects perspective, my favorite part was the ants. What I found kind of interesting was that they used the same idea of the ants with all of the different Scott Langs. They kind of climbed on each other so that he could get out of wherever he was at the time. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think it's really telling. We saw this film pretty recently, and we're still, kind of talking about it in a very general sense, because like some of these really effects driven films, there's not a lot of devil in the details. It's very kind of an open, kind of grand story arc that you're meant to remember. I love Jonathan Majors in this. I'm so excited to see him do so well this year. I mean, he was in Lovecraft Country, and he was absolutely amazing. If you've not seen that, it's a really great HBO television series. Go do it. But I'm really glad that he is coming on strong this year. And I thought he did really well. I think you're right about the inconsistency. Spoiler alert, halfway through the credits, maybe Kang was correct, because there's like a billion Kangs sitting on a planet somewhere looking at something that looks like it's out of the Gladiator, where they're fighting and they're like, hey, I've got all the Kangs. And all the Kangs are like, we got a zombie Kang, and we got a little Muffet Kang, and we got
we had different Kangs, but we had all the same Scotts. See, right. Come on, get it together. But yeah, there were a lot of Kangs. So it sounds like they could be pretty mad, right? Because I think the Kangs are talking to each other like, man, whatever realm Earth is, 616 or whatever they call us. I don't know. It sounds like they're going to need snuffed out here shortly. So that could be
Car 54. Where are you?
And then the real reason for this 2 hour and 4 minute movie was to make sure you have your Disney Plus subscription, because the post credit scene is Loki and Mobius there seeing another variant of Kang. So get that lined up, your $12 a month or whatever, and you'll be able to carry on with the MCU goodness. So I don't know, Michaela, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. I had high hopes, kind of like you. I didn't really love Ant-Man and the Wasp. It was just kind of okay. It's very kind of forgettable, I guess, almost. I don't like saying that, but there's been 31 of these. Most of these, there are a couple of standouts, and everything else is kind of in the wash to me. But like I said, Ant-Man as a character, is a story from the original one, 2015, that I liked a lot, and I was hoping that it kind of would get more back to that a little bit, and maybe Scott kind of teaching Cassie more, which they addressed very, very lightly. But I don't know, I just this one wasn't it for me. It did not hit for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think that a lot of people, and I think I'm totally right here, Marvel Universe, so pay attention. I think a lot of people are getting into, because we're like on phase 4 or phase 5 of the Marvel Universe. We have got Six? Are we six? Oh, dear, all things that are good. Okay. We are getting very wary. We're in like Marvel exhaustion or kind of this over saturation perhaps, because now every unless you're going to do something really special with either the nemesis, because we've had a couple of really cool takes on the evildoers in the past couple of films. Like we talked about how in Doctor Strange, entering the multiverse, how it was really neat that the Scarlet Witch was now kind of a baddie, and where that comes from and why that is, and the God Killer within Thor: Love and Thunder. Those were kind of interesting takes on that. There's just not a lot here. So we don't know why Kang is this way. We don't know why he was excommunicated. They're setting it up for something, but it feels like this is just a stepping stone in another that's going to lead us down another series or another couple of movies. And so it's almost too produced now, where it's like, well, we didn't really need this. We could have probably gotten this in a film that was not 204 minutes or 2 hours and 4 minutes. It probably could have been something else, another way to get this information. And so it's just starting to feel very fatigued as an audience member. And so, I mean, and there are some Marvel films that are still just absolutely great. This is probably the only time I'm going to watch it. I don't think it's probably, my son is probably going to watch this because it's going to get on Disney Plus at some point, and he's going to watch this 87 times. So good on you, Disney. But not my favorite of all of them.
Yeah, there's something to be said for some secrecy, because one of kind of the compelling parts of that original kind of Avengers run up through Endgame was that Scott disappeared. He went to this quantum realm, so he basically missed out on the blip. But that was all kind of a mystery and secret, and we didn't know what it was, and that was more interesting than seeing it, I think. So
and where was he? Because he was gone for it was 8 months, or I know it was 5 years. It was a long time he was gone, but I don't know how long he was gone on the quantum realm. And that would have been, I think they say it's only a couple hours, but that was an opportunity where they could have been like, what did he do in the quantum realm and how did he get out? And no,
you're right.
No.
Yeah, absolutely. Because then they could have played it off, right? As Janet was some superstar of the quantum realm. Scott could have been the Scott Lang of the quantum realm, which would have been another level. I don't know. This one, like I said, it didn't hit, but they're still fun to go and see and talk about, and obviously, kind of everyone does. So it's important from that standpoint, I guess. And it was good to take a break in our Oscar watch, Michaela, because that is what we really have going on this time of year. We are blitzing through movies left, right, and center, and we've got a bunch of fun Oscar stuff going on over on our Patreon. It's patreon.com/drinkthemovies. We've got all of our Best Picture nominee episodes going up there, little mini episodes. We've got our prize package is up. It's on the website, which is drinkthemovies.com. You can enter to win our prize pack. Just make the most Oscar picks. But yeah, those are Oscar films. This is Antman and the Wasp. So let us know at home if you went out and saw Antman and the Wasp and Quantum Realm or Quantumania. Let us know what you thought about it. Let us know what you think about Antman and the Wasp in general as comic book characters, as these movie characters, and what your favorite MCU stuff is, what you're looking forward to coming out, because 31, we'll get 3 or 4 more of these this year probably. So let us know all that stuff. You can do that on our social medias. It's at Drink the Movies on Instagram and Twitter and Hive, and Facebook.com/drinkthemovies. If you want to see the picture of the Quantum Realm shot that we did, you can do that on the website, which again is drinkthemovies.com. And we'd really appreciate it if you had a few moments to spare. If you headed over to Apple Podcasts or Spotify, if you listen to us there, leave us a nice review. We'll feature it on the episode, and we'd really appreciate it. And if you don't listen to us there, where else can they get subscribed, Michaela?
You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Good Pods, anywhere where Anchor podcasts are distributed. We really appreciate it. If you're liking what you're hearing, go ahead and subscribe to us. We do 2 drops a week. This is separate from our Patreon, so it's completely free. And if you're liking what you're hearing even more, please leave us a 5-star review. It really helps us get all the Drink the Movie stuff out there.
That's right. So, Michaela, that is Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. But like I said, we are Oscar season all time now. So next week, look forward to our Oscar preview show. The Oscars are already upon us. It's crazy how fast this last year went. So we're going to be going through all of the nominees. We're going to be making our picks and getting them submitted to our Oscar picks. So I don't know, Michaela, Ant-Man and the Wasp. What do you think?
I think I'm ready for another drink. That's what I think.
I think I am going to second you there. So let's go do that. We'll take a break. We will wrap up the last 10 or so films we need to see, and we'll talk to everyone next time on
Drink
the Movies. Quantum-tastic.
Don't be a D word.
Oh, we were supposed to say big ass sun on the movie poster.
Oh, that's right. Big ass sun on the movie poster. That's not a quote from the movie.
even the poster didn't know what it was doing.
There are quantum people in the quantum realm. That was pretty funny.